Welcome back, DIVEBOMB IndyCar podcast to review a crazy race at Milwaukee where we saw Christian Rasmussen become IndyCar's latest winner in a race of two halves, really, an absolute thriller. And I know last time I introed the episode with trying to keep Portland weird. It wasn't that weird, but the weirdness certainly carried over to Milwaukee. What a bizarre ending to the race. What a bizarre second half as we saw Christian Rasmussen storm through the field at the final restart to claim a maiden career victory. And what a story it is. I mean, it's been a season full of Álex Palou domination. He was obviously crowned champion at Portland, and we've only had 4 or 5 winners up to this point, and it's been, apart from Schwartzman's pole at the Indy 500, we haven't really had anything extraordinary. And here we come with Christian Rasmussen claiming his first career victory before the likes of David Maluka, Santino Ferrucci and Connor Daly have claimed career victories. The sophomore Christian Rasmussen has found himself in victory lane, and it felt like it was sort of coming. You always feel like you're going to witness a crashing Christian Rasmussen race, but hey, he's entertaining, and what a nice, fun weekend. The championship's done, and we're now having some nice, slightly bonkers weekends, which is exactly the way you want to end the season.
I mean, listeners, we are recording directly after the race, which we don't do that often. So, of course, it's a race this nuts where we end up recording straight after. We don't actually have time to digest. I mean, maybe that'll make it the best podcast we've ever done. I feel like it was a race that kind of deserves that. I think we're still kind of mid-processing. We're going to be processing it as we go along during the episode, because that was one of the wildest things, the wildest drives I feel like we've seen in a good while. I don't feel like it was the barnstormer of last year, and then we got this random rain that I don't think it was on a radar. I don't think it was on the
even rain. It just seemed like somebody threw their water bottle over the mile or something.
Scott McLaughlin said it was the IndyCar gods, but yeah, that just made it transcend into this utterly bonkers 30 lap stint of oval racing with Christian Rasmussen, who must be one of the most exciting drivers ever. I mean, these oval races always seem to find a way to come alive, and I mean, he's usually at the heart of it. I mean, wider point, that's why we can't let these oval races disappear, and it was bloody brilliant seeing such a good crowd and such a loud crowd and enthusiastic crowd, because at other ovals, that's been the issue, and that's why ovals disappear off the schedule. But no, as you say, Dan, it was a really fun weekend. I thought even through practice, and it's just a proper throwback, raw, vintage racetrack, isn't it? I mean, the oldest racetrack in the world, isn't it? And it just feels like pure old school IndyCar. And I don't know, the vibes felt up, didn't they? It was entertaining on track in every session, really. And there was really this kind of gloves off, nothing to lose kind of ability to gamble element to it, wasn't there? I guess even for Palou, given the championship was wrapped up. And yeah, awesome. No 10 wins for Palou. We're not going to see that record this year, but I'm pretty sure even he will tip his hat to something quite extraordinary that we witnessed tonight. And the championship might be done, but it wasn't any less exciting, was it?
Ironically, this was one race where Palou really deserved to win, but didn't. It's kind of a shame you're having these really great races towards the end of the season, because then you just look, I'm just going to miss this so much. And then, because if you have a bit of a stinker, let's put it, the first half of the race wasn't great. If that just carried on, it'd be oh well, season's coming to an end. And now it's had an absolute cracker, and it's I just want this to carry on. But hey, the way the cookie crumbles, unfortunately. But we'll start off with IndyCar's newest race winner, Christian Rasmussen, who has always been electric on ovals. We know about his driving style. We've gone into it week in, week out, and we aren't gonna tell you, because I'm sure you full well know how Christian Rasmussen drives, especially on the ovals. But it was a bit of a chaotic one. I mean, he qualified 9th, which for him, I think he qualified 10th for start at 9th, which for him isn't actually too bad on ovals, because he usually qualifies a lot lower, gives himself a lot more work. And he got sent to the back of the field for a pit speed violation halfway through, and then, as he sort of always does, is on the limit and overtakes the cars. And then this miracle caution lap 209 for sweat coming out the stands, basically, gives him the opportunity to go into fresh tyres. And what was really strange then is Rasmussen just switched on the tyres like nobody else did. Rossi had the same freshness of tyres, so did O'Ward, so did Lundgaard, and Rasmussen just turned them on like nobody else did, and was absolutely siving into McLaughlin, into Palou, and the traffic in front of Palou, which he almost crashed multiple times whilst trying to overtake, which would have been a catastrophic way for his day to end. But he avoided it, thankfully, for his sake, to claim. I don't know if his victory feels like it's been coming. It sort of has been, but at the same time, it still feels a bit odd that Christian Rasmussen won. It's like one of those where, like, it's not a huge surprise. It is obviously still surprising, but it's like you sort of felt it could happen. So, yeah, what a great result. Another feel-good story. The second really sort of feel-good story, like not like a small team, but one of the smaller teams in the series after obviously Premier as well in the month of May to claim a seismic result. It's really fantastic to see, and obviously the team's first win since Rinus VK won on the Indy Road Course in 2021. So this has been 4.5 years in the making for the team.
Yeah, I mean, I think what makes it all the cooler is the fact that he just did it in a proper Christian Rasmussen fashion. Like, that is one of the most exhilarating race-winning kind of flourishes that you will see, really. Like, Palou was in a completely different league, and ultimately okay on these fresher tyres, but Rasmussen kind of found himself as the only other guy that was even close to that league, or well, ultimately in that league, because I mean, Palou was still miles clear of McLaughlin finishing second. And yeah, even when we had no knowledge that this was how it was going to end for Rasmussen earlier in the race, he was kind of still the most eye-catching driver on the track. Like, he's just wild to watch. Like, the best way I can describe it is like he looks like he's completely out of control. His car is that loose and on the edge, but somehow he actually always has it under control. Like, he's quite unorthodox, I feel like. I mean, he said himself, he basically will just run whatever line everyone else isn't running, which feels like quite an unusual high-risk thing to do. But yeah, as much as his car's kind of wobbling and sliding around, he still seems to manage to find the speed. It's not like he has a big moment and loses a ton of ground. He's like, he was in the game in the top 10 all race, apart from obviously when he had that penalty, but still, he's like a master of recovering as well. He's such a skilled oval racer. But yeah, brilliant strategy call. Obviously, the team knew that Rasmussen could deliver, and yeah, he really delivered in a manner that nobody else could. I know we've spoken about who the best oval drivers are in the series, and particularly Pato O'Ward's someone up there, and he was on those fresh tyres and couldn't come close. And Rasmussen, I think he restarted 7th. He was quickly around Pato, around obviously teammate Rossi, past a couple of Penske cars to get onto the podium, and it was just box office. Like, it felt like the real crescendo of all the oval excitement we've seen from him really since his first oval race in the Indy 500 last year. And yeah, just the manner in which everyone else appeared to get stuck, and he was just, his pace was staggering. And I mean, what was even more staggering, the move he put on Palou, and then the fact he just didn't tone down that kind of high risk approach. I mean, his spotter was like panicking big time. I mean, I think the one message I picked up in particular, he said, "Nice and smooth, bro," after Rasmussen had clearly not been taking his kind of encouragement to tone it down that little bit on board. It was pretty funny. But I mean, again, Rasmussen executed as much as he was coming within inches of the wall and putting his car where it didn't even look like there was a car width. And yeah, the fact that, you know, he ended up, I don't know what the gap was to Palou, but he was pretty comfortable by the end of it. And yeah, as you say, I mean, it's only Ed Carpenter Racing's second win in 9 years, which is pretty big. And Alexander Rossi back-to-back top fives now as well, a double top five for what I think is the first time in the organization's history, which is big time stuff. Sophomore driver, and he's somebody who's always struggled with funding. He had to sort of work his way up every step of the ladder, not knowing if he'd be at the next race when he was a junior driver. And Ed Carpenter mentioned it. It was a sort of shootout between him and Oliver Askew at the start of last season, and he put his faith into Rasmussen for a full pay drive, and it was an okay rookie season. But you know, he made a decision to drop Rinus VK. You could make for Rasmussen, and Rasmussen's the one who's gotten back into victory lane for the first time in 4 years. So it's a really good feel-good story for Rasmussen, not only from an IndyCar perspective, but when you take into account his entire career, I think it's actually a really nice
story of one, how successful the ladder is, in the fact that giving these scholarships and giving opportunities to someone like Rasmussen, who in maybe the European ladder would never have had a chance due to his budget, and the fact that teams are willing to take risks on young drivers and they pay him back like this. And I think, as you said, Ed dropped aside at Milwaukee last year to give Rasmussen the chance, and he impressed there. And was that the turning point into Ed giving him another chance for this year? We don't know, but that certainly helped his cause, and all the faith that Ed has put into him as a team owner has ultimately really paid off.
Yeah, I think faith is the watchword, because it wasn't a brilliant rookie year. I know there were some flashes, especially latterly, and I know the last few road and street races last year, actually, he showed some glimmers, and then obviously it was a very oval-heavy ending to the season, and he got those few races and did clearly impress. But I don't think it was an obvious choice for Ed to really put his faith, when they got this big new investment, the team, to put his faith in Rasmussen. It wasn't an obvious choice. But I guess if it was a bit of a gamble, he's been vindicated for taking that gamble. Obviously, him and Rossi both on multi-year deals. But I mean, just looking in points now, Rasmussen's 12th. He is 32 points clear of Rossi, who's now up in 14th. So they're both in that 12th to 14th window that VK always.
VK's in the middle of them, funnily enough.
VK's in the middle of them, which is pretty hilarious, actually. I mean, on the Rossi side, heck of a strategy day, I must say. Like, I mean, he stopped very early. He was pretty much the earliest to stop on that main strategy, and showed the power of the undercut. All of a sudden, he made it up from kind of the outside edge of the top 10, or the brink of that top 10, to 4th, and kind of just remained there all day, really. And it was, again, another great call for, along with Rasmussen, him to stop under that caution for the mysterious rain. And his strategist is Ed Carpenter. I don't think we mentioned this in the Portland episode, but he stepped in temporarily for the closing rounds, which is quite cool. And he's doing a stellar job. Maybe he's accidentally going to become a strategist along with team owner. But couldn't match the. Well, I would probably say he couldn't match the unmatchable heroics of Rasmussen, who genuinely is emerging as one of the best oval drivers in the series. But still a very, very strong day. I mean, I think his best result before Portland was 8th this year. He'd had a massive lull mid-season. So to have now back-to-back top 5s, this is his first overall top 10 for the team even, I think. And even though he couldn't match Rasmussen, as he frankly hasn't this year on the ovals, which I think more than anything speaks to how strong Rasmussen has been. It's still a very, very good result, and real feel-good story for what is one of IndyCar's smallest outfits. I know they've obviously now got the investment, and I guess this is vindication for the work that's been put in with that, but they're still one of IndyCar's smallest outfits. And I think it's, rather than saying, oh, well, they've got loads of money, no wonder this is happening, I think it's worth celebrating the fact that people are willing to invest in these smaller teams to allow this sort of story to happen. I think it's just really good to see.
You are correct. First time they finished both cars in the top 5.
Well,
I've had both cars in the top 6 before.
I'm not taking any credit for it. My hearing's good. Let's just put it that way.
Rasmussen's hearing wasn't very good. I'm trying to listen to a spotter, so you've got that over him.
Well, I think it was just ignorance, wasn't it? He's insane. But
He's
in
got
all the best ways.
Selective hearing in the last 20 laps, I think.
Tactical ignoring.
Yes. If you wanted a bit of podcast lore this week, we have some. If you look at Christian Rasmussen's Indy Next car from 2022, on the left front side of the car, you will see a DIVEBOMB logo. So, eagle-eyed viewers, try and find an image, send it to us in between now and Nashville, and credit to the person who finds it first. Bit of podcast lore for you this week, so that's pretty cool. Should we get on to Álex Palou, who, dominated the weekend. There's no other way of putting it. He absolutely obliterated the majority of the field until the last 20 laps. And Palou's weakness has always been on short ovals, really. Obviously, he claimed his first short oval victory in Iowa early this season, but even that was he got a bit of a break with a caution. So he probably wouldn't have won that had that caution not come out. But this one was a completely different story. Qualifying, he was miles clear of the rest of the field. It was over half a mile an hour quicker than anybody else. And come race day, it was like he's on a road course. Like his road course dominance translating to a short oval. He would just constantly build up a gap no matter what caution it was. He did get overtaken by David Malukas sort of the first 50 laps or so. But after then, he was just completely superior to the rest of the field. Would just comfortably build a gap every restart. He was good in traffic as well. He would build his margin over traffic, whilst people like McLaughlin and Newgarden would actually struggle relatively to him in traffic. It was superb. I mean, Palou's had a lot of good weekends this season, but I'd actually make an argument this might be one of the best ones. I mean, there's so many Barber, Road America, it was Laguna, which was dominant. So many, but this I think was, considering a short oval background, this one is arguably the most impressive, even if he didn't win it. And he's finished on the podium now in 12 of 16 races, which is absolutely ridiculous. And he says his weaknesses were short ovals, his weaknesses were traffic, and he's conquered them both. What is his weakness? There is none.
He's only the 5th driver to achieve 12 podiums in a single season, if I am correct, off my stats, altering the stats I had after Portland, which is pretty impressive. I mean, he's only been off the podium 4 times this year, which is staggering. And I know he's not going to equal the record of 10 wins, but he can still become only the 4th driver ever to win 9 times in a single season. No driver's got 9 wins since 1970, which was Mario Andretti, I think. So there's still something on the line in Nashville, but yeah, I mean, if Iowa was lucky, this one really makes up for it. That, okay, maybe he got a bit of bad luck with that last caution happening and snatched a win, because that was, I mean, all weekend long, a phenomenal performance. Like, phenomenal. I guess we kind of saw what bonkersness it takes to beat Palou, really, because it was special from start to finish, whether qualifying, whether the race, and he said himself that it was probably his best oval performance to date. And I don't think you can let Rasmussen's very, very impressive late flourish, as I described it, take away from what Palou did. I mean, only on Saturday after qualifying, he was speaking about what's the, if he's cracked short ovals, what's the remaining weakness? And he did say traffic running on short ovals is maybe the thing. What did he do so well today that got him into the position where he probably should have won the race? He absolutely obliterated the traffic. Like, I mean, he was so decisive. It was again this kind of calculated aggression, which I feel like has been taken up to another level this year. Yeah, I mean, Palou basically on Saturday, I feel like, coupled what he previously said were his 2 weaknesses, short ovals and that kind of peak qualifying speed, put them both together to just once and for all lay down that marker to say, like, there's nothing missing from his armory. There genuinely isn't. And I mean, he was in a dream position this weekend where he has nothing to lose because of the championship being sealed, and he can take more risks. But quite honestly, with that pressure off, he found even more pace in reserve. I mean, that's 6 poles for the year in 16 rounds. He'd managed the same in 81 previously coming into the year. He's been on the front row half the races, now top 3 starts in 10 of 16 races. I mean, it's just insane. Like, he's been the quickest in races for a few years now, but he's now the quickest on 1 lap across every single type of track, including every type of oval. Like, there's no chink in his armor. There isn't.
Let's briefly go on to Team Penske. It was quite a mixed weekend. They obviously came in as the favourites, being a short oval. Bit of a strange one. It was a good weekend for McLaughlin, one of his better ones this season. Qualified in 4th, jumped award at the start, and sort of just ran around 3rd, 2nd all day. Didn't have the pace of Palou, but there were no errors and there were no problems. So there's not really too much to say for McLaughlin. It was just a good day, and the days that we haven't seen enough of him do this season compared to what we saw him do last season.
Yeah, I mean, in kind of the chaos of Rasmussen winning, like, it was a really, really forgettable 3rd place, but I mean that in kind of the nicest way. And I think McLaughlin, to be honest, needed that sort of clean, polished day, executed, got up to, jumped Malukas for 2nd, maybe even on the first pit cycle, I think. And ultimately, Palou was better in traffic, looked like he had a better car in traffic.
And then Newgarden was the really weird one, because it felt like he didn't have the pace of McLaughlin, really, because he didn't have a great first lap in qualifying. He had a good second lap. His first lap wasn't particularly good, so he qualified 7th, and then he fell off a bit in the first stint, and then sort of came back in the pit stop phase, and by the time we sort of got to the magical rain caution, he was running in 3rd, and he looked pretty comfortable there. And then he obviously got caught out in the final stint because he made contact with. Who did he make contact with? Was it Rossi? I think he made contact with him.
Oh, that was a hell of a save, actually.
Yeah, it was a good save. It should have crashed. It was a crash that didn't happen. But he lost quite a lot of time there, which again, another Newgarden incident for an effort of his own.
Yeah, that was when everyone was on their fresh tires, wasn't it? And he just got completely eaten up. Like, I think the point I would make on Newgarden is like, I mean, he had a very kind of anonymous, quiet start to the race. It really seemed to come alive around the midpoint.
But it was only for like 20 laps he came alive.
Yeah,
really.
It wasn't the same.
Strange.
Like we're obviously used to. I mean, we even saw it at Iowa, and I don't really remember Gateway, but I think it was the same at Gateway. Really, before he had his obviously monster accident there, that he's obviously so superior usually when it comes to traffic, and just didn't look like he had the same car under him really. Because obviously McLaughlin's struggling as well compared to Palou, and I mean Palou was at times pulling like a second a lap, with McLaughlin getting stuck in traffic. Yeah, I don't think the Penske package was quite there. I mean, Newgarden had a disaster at Milwaukee last year, so I guess he's happy to get to the finish. But
it's a bit weird because it just felt like he didn't have the pace of his teammates, and yeah, it's not the dominant Newgarden Nobles that we've seen year in, year out. Like Palou was doing the Newgarden work today.
Obviously, this year he's been screwed in oval qualifying. He's having to run early before his teammates because he's so low down in the championship. It's unusual. You're used to seeing Newgarden running quite late, aren't you? Yeah, odd one. Just did not have it. I mean, he's going to be super motivated come Nashville, home race. I think he's got a 10-year streak on the line for consecutive seasons with wins. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, we got her to winless, McLaughlin winless.
Some big names winless, haven't we?
Should be a fun one. Was it 23? We had Award winless, Herta winless, Power winless. You get a few years like that. And obviously finishing off with Power, actually. Qualified pretty respectably. He was, where was he qualifying? He started 5th, qualified 6th because of Dixon's penalty, and ran fairly well early on, just on the outskirts of the podium, not really any real issues until he made, I think it was after the second set of stops, had that, he always got ran up into the wall by Kevin Simpson. It didn't get ran up into the wall, but trying to overtake Kevin Simpson, he hit the wall, and then obviously damaged his toe link, and that was day done. I mean, Newgarden, we didn't mention, was also very unhappy with Simpson because there were times he was playing a big blocking job for Palou, which he's obviously completely in his right to do, but just give the Penskes a bit of a headache.
I found that really funny because he pulled up alongside Simpson in the caution, and he didn't give him like a middle finger or anything. I think he was just pointing at him to make a point. And Simpson just didn't even look. Simpson was just like looking straight ahead. I think just completely blanked out that it was even happening, which was quite funny. Yeah, Power. It was a scruffy one for Power because even before that, he made contact with Rahal. I think he just ran into the back of him. Actually, I mean, it was a weekend of some really good saves. He made a really good save. I mean, Rahal did actually himself earlier in the race. We had Herta in qualifying. Obviously, Newgarden's late in the race. But I mean, I think the wheels was out of Power's hands and he managed to hold on to it. But yeah, the incident was an odd one. I think he must have got into the wall, broken his toe link, and then maybe went into turn 3, was it? And that's when he spun. And yeah, day done. I mean, I saw on Twitter, I think he was maybe a bit annoyed at Simpson on the radio. But again, like the nature of lap traffic, and I guess it just speaks to that point that we're not used to seeing Penske struggle quite so much when it comes to that traffic running.
Let's go on to Aaron McLaren as well briefly. The main reason is because Pato O'Ward is now still second in the standings with a 5th place finish today. And it's the first time in his career he's done that. Obviously, he was very close in 2021 until he had contact with Ed Jones. And has just had a quietly good season, which is something that we don't really speak about Pato much. He's a bit it was almost a bit too box office, but he sort of said he wanted to take a step back this season and bring home results, which he's done. He's finished in the top 5, 6 of the last 7 races. The only outlier being Portland, which of course we don't know, but there was a good chance he was on for a top 5 before his mechanical failure. And that's in addition to another 4 top 5s of the season. So that now takes him up to 10 top 5s in 16 races, which are a reward. I mean, you wouldn't really associate him with that sort of form, especially this season. Generally hasn't felt like he's had that strong form, but it's sort of not this season, but sort of what Palou has been doing in these other seasons, where he's been quietly racking up top 5s week in, week out to win a championship. And it's a bit of a weird thing to say, but it's a year which probably would have been good enough for a championship for O'Ward. I mean, he's currently on 505 points. Palou finished on 544 last season. So it's one which, if he won the championship, wouldn't be completely unjust. It's just been that Palou's been so dominant that he hasn't had that eye in. But I know we'll speak about more on this when the season's all said and done. But O'Ward's now getting this ability to quietly get top 5s, which is what Palou was doing before he started this unbelievable dominance. So a really good year for O'Ward and a well-deserved second place, I think, in points.
Yeah, I mean, I think I don't want to reiterate points we've made in previous episodes too much, but I think, as you say, this has kind of been a year that's proven that he is championship material. I know in the past there've been doubts with some of the inconsistencies, he's been prone to make errors or enter kind of little ruts occasionally in seasons, which kind of harm making this sort of run. But this has truly been a championship caliber year. I mean, the fact that he's wrapped up second with a race to spare there's no mean feat. That's good going. And I think for Aaron McLaren as a whole, I mean, Lundgaard is now, he's got a buffer of 21 points actually back to Kirkwood, sitting 4th in the championship. So for a team that's never had 2 drivers even in the top 7, they could have 2 drivers in the top 4. And I mean, Lundgaard's only 7 points behind Dixon as well. So there's a chance they could have 2 drivers on the championship podium, which would be pretty big, really. And we've just not seen anything like this level of consistency on a, well, I say team-wide scale, on even just 2 cars at the team, which is obviously what we're seeing this year. Just to speak to Lundgaard, really, I mean,
good weekend, yeah,
really strong. Like, I mean, he finished 6th at Iowa, and that was kind of that was owing to a yellow. This was legit like a really good oval weekend for him. 7th, probably his best yet, really. So I'll play in a bit from Lundgaard. So there was a technical issue on the IndyCar Zoom recording. So this is gonna be in 2 parts, and I'll explain part of what he said in the second bit. So the first part you're gonna hear from Lundgaard. He just speaks a bit about how he reflects on this season compared to what he expected before the year, and also on the dynamic with O'Ward. Hi, Christian. I think I'm right in saying you've actually got more podiums this year than the 2 drivers that came before you at the team had in, I think, 5 years combined. So when you kind of zoom out and look at the season, how do you feel you have kind of adapted and performed against what your expectations were coming into the year?
I would honestly say, that there wasn't really any expectations in that regard, right? I think for me, it was just, show up, be competitive at every single event and get the most out of what we have. And I think, it's been a great demonstration of what the performance of the car really has been, and I think legitimately the car has been better this year, I think, than it has in some of the previous years. So it is a little, unfair to compare. We know the 5 car in Pato has been really strong the past couple of years, and the only thing I really wanted to do coming in this year was just give him a challenge in a sense. Go out and show what I can do, but also just if I finish 4th in all the races, I wouldn't necessarily care. It's just I'll just be happy that I was competitive and knocking on the door.
And can you just talk a bit about that dynamic with Pato as well? Because, I mean, you guys are tracking for the first time. The team have got 2 drivers in the top 5 in points. So what has that relationship been like between you 2? And I guess when you're at this top level, how beneficial can that sort of competition actually be?
Yeah, I mean it can be a good and a bad thing, right? I think I'd say between me and Pato we're good friends. We're trying to help each other as much as possible. I think we've helped each other much more than there's been any kind of battle between us.
So yes, it freezes here, but Lundgaard kind of continued on this answer about O'Wood just to say that kind of essentially the team have been in a place where if one of them has an off weekend, the other one is able to pick up the pieces, which hasn't always been the case for the team. And best case scenario, which has been the case pretty frequently, they've actually had two drivers fighting up near the front. And he says that really, as drivers, having that sort of competition can really help push them on, and both individually and on the team side as well. And ultimately, that's why they have two cars looking quite likely to finish in the top 5. Anyway, part 2 of Lundgaard is speaking about ovals and the fact that he is a little bit of an unknown quantity in some ways, and just where he feels like he stands. And this was obviously before Milwaukee, so very, very strong weekend as he continues that education or re-education.
Yeah, I mean the month of May was an interesting one because I feel like it was the first oval of the year. And I definitely felt like I was somewhat at a disadvantage to both Nolan and Pato because I feel like I had to relearn everything. I would honestly say St. Louis was probably the best overall race weekend we had on oval. Um, Despite what happened in the pit lane, I think that result was much worse than I think what we deserved. I think Iowa we just struggled on the 7 car. We weren't necessarily really comfortable all weekend. But Milwaukee is one of the races I'm looking the most forward to. So coming out here fourth in the standings at the moment, trying to hunt for third. I think I couldn't see a better place to really go to of any of the ovals, so I'm pretty excited. But I think there's still, there's a foundation this year that's being built for next year. Because as you said, I feel like I'm relearning it all.
You mentioned, say, some of the weekends like Iowa have been tougher than others. So do you know where those issues maybe have been, or when you've not been up to, say, the standard of Pato or Nolan?
Yeah, I mean, we know Pato is extremely strong at Iowa specifically, right? And he was an outlier there between the three of us. And I think Iowa is also one of the tracks where I've had the worst experiences, in the past. And I think, I'm not gonna call it trauma, but like there might be something, deep in there that's just, withholding yourself from doing what the car is capable of doing. And we know the car was fast in Milwaukee last year, and I'm just kind of going into it knowing what I've learned this year is already more beneficial than what I've learned in the past 3 years.
Aaron McLaren's best result this season is actually 8th. So the best finishing car at the very worst has been 8th this season, which is pretty strong. But that's pretty good going. You wouldn't have had that in previous years. So,
I mean, in the past, like they've had so many head scratching weekends where you've had all the cars like outside the top 15 and they have no idea why. Whereas I said it after Portland, like they've become really good at solving problems this year. Like even if they start a weekend slow, they'll end it quickly. And I think that's something we just never saw from that team. And even compared to races where they were weak last year, they're quick this year, which is really encouraging to see.
But it's like Andretti will still have these weekends where they're all outside the top 10 like they were today, with no real explanation. Even Penske this season.
Andretti's year has transitioned into what Aaron McLaren have been in recent years, I feel like.
And Andretti started the season excellently, but it feels like they've had a terrible tail off since about Road America.
Yeah, well, I mean, we should just, before we move off Aaron McLaren, get onto Nolan Siegel, because he brought out the caution. I mean, he crashed at the end of lap 1. Caution came out at the start of lap 2. Crashed in turn 4 pretty heavy. I mean, that was his race done before it even started, really. And I can't help but feel he's made too many errors of a very similar nature on ovals. Obviously, you had the crash in the Indy 500. You had the crash at Iowa. And again, he was just down far too low. And it was a misjudgment that was very, very costly. And I think it's a bit of a concerning trend now. He has crashed a few too many times in an unforced error kind of way this year. And yeah, I mean, I feel like we can excuse him this year because it is his first full season. But even then, he's still made a few too many mistakes, I feel, and see a repeat of that next year, and I'd start becoming quite concerned. I feel like he had a phase earlier in the year where he was actually on a par with Lundgaard and O'Ward occasionally, or at least competing with them, at least over one lap. And his season just feels like it's gone into a bit of a tailspin. And I mean, he's now behind Louis Foster in points, who has obviously had a pretty mixed year with a heck of a lot of bad luck. So, yeah, not brilliant.
Siegel hasn't finished in the top 15 since Iowa, which that's 6 races and only 2 top 10s this year. And look, as you say, I think it's fine for a rookie season. We saw someone like Kirkwood struggle in his first full season, but the concern is I don't see Siegel making a step up in year 2, or at least a significant step up enough to say, okay, I think we should keep him at the team. Like, we've seen glimmers over one lap, and we've maybe seen a solid race, but we've seen too many errors, I think, to justify his position in the team in some ways. And I'm happy to give him another season, but there needs to be a step up, and these mistakes can't be a feature of his racecraft next year. Because, I mean, on ovals has been a bit of a... I mean, Iowa showed promise, but overall ovals has been a bit of a struggle for Siegel. So work needs to be done, definitely. The last driver will place a bit of attention on, I think, is David Malukas, who looked set for his first career pole until Palou came out of absolutely nowhere. And Malukas is absolutely superb, isn't he, at race starts and restarts? Absolutely superb. I think he might be up there one of the best, especially when he's at the front. He was competing with Palou in the early stages and looked fairly competitive. And then it all started kicking off from the second stop, because that's when he had a delayed stop, and then everyone started coming in, and the power there's always accidents. About 1,000 things going on at once. He lost a lap in that, but then recovered. He eventually finished 8th. I don't know how. It was all of it was kicking off, so you couldn't really pay attention to one thing. But this overwin's got to come soon, man. Like, this every over race. I mean, literally every over race this season, he could have won, apart from maybe Iowa race 1. And just something has just gone out of his way, whether his fault or for another error, which is, it feels like it's time now for him to claim that victory. And another superb showing, and I think with another mixed weekend for power, does it toss things slightly in his favour? I don't know. So it's always, we're going to carry on about this until it's announced. But again, a superb weekend on ovals. But I think from a Team Penske's standpoint, you can't rely on him just for ovals. He's got to step up his game at road courses, I think, a bit too.
I think it's quite fitting and quite Penske-like the way in which he seems to have been denied that first oval win in every way possible, really, this year, or at least quite a few different ways. I mean, his qualifying was excellent. I mean, obviously, it was ultimately overshadowed by Palou putting in just a astounding run. But Malukas has started inside the top 12 11 times in 16 races this year, and top 7 8 times. But this was actually only, I think, his 5th top 10 finish of the year. So there's quite a disparity in terms of single lap pace and actually converting in races. And again, like today, this was completely out of his control. And to be fair, to recover to 8th was good going. I think it was a wheel gun failure that was the issue, and it was even more cruel that, I mean, he'd been chasing down Palou. I mean, obviously got ahead of him, fell back behind him, and been staring at the rear of Palou quite a bit. And after that restart, or the caution under which that wheel gun thing happened and he fell a lap down, he was still restarted staring right at the back of Palou, but this time a lap down, which I just thought was, God, go and pile on the misery. Go and kick him while he's down. But yeah, I mean, it'll come. Like, he's a really impressive oval driver. Here is Malukas, actually, speaking a bit about that disparity between his qualifying performance and where he is. He's kind of just needing to refine things in races, particularly on that road course side of things. Cheers, Dave. Hi, David. First of all, I know qualifying really seems to have been your kind of big strength this year. So, what has kind of clicked over one lap? And I guess conversely, how do you start converting that into more race results, I guess?
100%. Going into the season, we've made gains from the start. We've learned so much. Like I said, it's a younger crew, and I myself am 23. There's a lot that I'm learning, and we've found a very good car when it comes to qualifying, and for road courses as well, that one lap pace, and for qualifying here, we've got a lot of success in qualifying this season. It's more just trying to focus on the road courses, on the races, especially. There's a lot of answers that we still need to work on. We have long off season, so we'll make sure to kind of get those answers and figure it out. But from our side, we're all very happy. We've made. I mean, if we look at where we were at the start of the season, I mean, it's been a drastic change.
And what are some of the big things you feel you have learned across the year?
Say again?
What are some of the big things that you feel you have learned kind of across the year, as you say?
I mean, just a street course car, our car, it's been massive gains. We're competitive and course car. I mean, that was the one thing that we were struggling the most on, and we made drastic changes in qualifying. The last thing is just trying to figure out our race pace. I think that's the last puzzle to kind of complete everything, and then we can start fine-tuning some things here and there and be competitive.
And the most important question, are Dorking in the Premier League yet?
They're not. I've been trying so hard. I'm literally just now mid-table of championship trying to survive. I'm not gonna lie, the championship is it's very difficult. It is. I am struggling, but I have really good players on there. But they're just, I don't know. They're just, one has a good season performance, and then the next season I'm like trying to talk with them and trying to praise them and lift them up a little bit. So.
Okay, let's go through the running order for the Milwaukee 250. We obviously had Rasmussen, Palou, McLaughlin on your podium, Rossi and O'Ward your top 5, Lundgaard, Newgarden and Malukas your top 8. We've covered the top 8 very well. Dixon was 9th, a bit of a quiet day for Dixon. He actually qualified a lot better than he usually does on ovals. Obviously qualified 5th in the end before he got his engine penalty.
His third of the year, by the way, third engine penalty of the year. That pre-season Sebring engine failures just continues to screw him over. I mean, I've never known so many. It's like it's a Rahal-like level of engine failures in a season.
And yeah, anything else on Dixon? I think that was basically it for his weekend.
No, I'm excited about the next one though.
You ready? Armstrong ability. I mean, I think this is my favorite one yet because
agree.
The Armstrong ability is always the opposite of what you expect to happen. Every time you don't expect him to be in the top 10, he's in the top 10. And every time you do expect him to be in the top 10, he's not in the top 10. And because Toronto qualified third, and we're like, right, it's going to be in for a fantastic result today. And he finished outside the top 10. But this one was the lap, he pitted under the third caution. So when the fourth one came out, everyone else had pitted apart from him, because the team wanted to try something out. So they just left him in first on like 40 lap old tyres. He got absolutely gobbled up by the field. Went from first to 17th in about 3 laps. And then somehow, despite having to make an extra stop effectively more than everybody else, managed to recover to 10th. How did that happen?
I don't know what happened. As I said earlier, we're too soon after the race to have dissected everything in immense detail. But yeah, I mean, when I heard that Mike Shank had said we were just trying something, our first reaction was, trying what? I mean, it was a very strange strategy. I mean, he just got like freight train like no one's ever been freight trained before in that restart. And I was like, at that point, brilliant. This has prevented what I predicted after qualifying would just be a perfect Armstrong ability day. But that's just peak Armstrong ability, right? I mean, it's even in the championship, it's Armstrong ability. Like, I mean, I'm sure Maya Shank tweeted that he was going to be 6th. But yeah, he's 7th now, and he's 6 points ahead of and 2 positions ahead of Rosenqvist. So continues such an impressive year. I mean, Rosenqvist, he crashed in qualifying and I don't know, just didn't seem to have the performance really. It's kind of continued what has been a bit of a scattergun, feast or famine second part of the season that's turned pretty reminiscent actually to his 2020 for him. He ended up finishing 22nd and he started 25th after that crash. Yeah, odd one. I actually think he's been outperformed by Armstrong over the course of the season.
Second half, certainly. And we haven't mentioned that Armstrong has signed a new contract with Marshank, so he'll be there next year as well. And what my favourite thing about this all is I had no idea his seat was still vacant for next year. So the most Armstrong ability, he just signs a contract out of nowhere for a seat I didn't know was still on the market.
Yeah, I mean, there's not much to say on it other than he's richly deserves it. Like, his consistency this year has been very impressive. I think coming off last year, I mean, it was him versus Lundqvist was kind of weighing up. I think we just spoke a lot about kind of weighing up the pair. Obviously, Lundqvist ending without a seat and then both having very similar years last year. But I think Armstrong's proved us wrong in a lot of ways. Like, I did not think he would be this good in this first season with Meyer Shank. Like,
he didn't start the season very well because he crashed in St. Petersburg. He crashed the Indy 500, made his life a lot more difficult. But he's kind of reached an unmatched level of consistency, like Ericsson had when he was at Ganassi, where he's just farming top tens. There won't be many podiums in there. You know, you got the odd podium like I did in Iowa, but he's now a week in, week out, guaranteed top 10 pretty much. And I think that's almost the best driver that you want because, you know, pace will come with experience. He's still relatively young as Armstrong. And I'm seeing a lot of like things saying, could he be the heir to Dixon's seat? And maybe he could be, like with the way he's going. But to have a driver who is just so reliable and just gets the job done without any fuss, I think is just like the Armstrong ability thing is like a good meme in this podcast, but it's like, it is actually really impressive that he can just do that week in, week out quietly, just get these top tens, and it doesn't have to be flashy. And that's what you want. A championship is not won on race victories; it's won on consistency. And he's in fundamentally a mid-level car and is performing excellently.
I was going to say, and even taking away the Kiwi factor of it, it is very Dixon-y. Like, not necessarily pulling out all the stops regularly in qualifying, but just reliably races so well. Like, I'm not saying he qualifies badly. He's had some good qualifying performances, but he's just always in the ballpark, and that's what you need in a championship where consistency is so rewarded. It's very impressive. I think he's going to get some rave reviews when we do our post-season reviews.
We'll then go on to Colton Herta with a very quiet Sunday, but stole the show on Saturday after. Didn't really steal the show. He just made a ridiculous save. Another crash that didn't happen in qualifying. He actually made 13 places up in the race, which is pretty good in the end. But Herta seems to do this quite a lot where he crashes on over qualifying. So he did it in Gateway once. I feel like he did it somewhere else as well. In the
Indy 500 this year.
Indy 500 this year, but I feel like it's done it somewhere. It's a bit of a like worrying trend of Herta crashing in qualifying. But
I mean, even before we had the caution come out at the end of lap 1 for Siegel, I mean, he was already up 7 positions. So massive gains. I mean, where did he start? 24th? He made up.
Yeah, 24th.
Where did he finish in the end?
Made up 13 positions.
13 positions. Pretty good. Like, I mean, he was in the top 10 even before lap 100. So raced really well. And just Andretti generally struggled a little bit. Like Kirkwood qualified pretty well, started 6th, 12th in the race. Ericsson
top 15 and lost 6 for Kirkwood.
Yeah.
What a rough stretch. What a fall from
I know,
what was such a promising start.
I mean, he's going to finish 5th in the championship, which still continues his upwards trajectory. It's just, we spoke a lot about the Palou like consistency earlier in the year, and it's just been a real drop off since the mid part. I mean, obviously, looking back to when he had the 3 wins and him and Palou were the only winners, he looked like the only guy close to challenging Palou. So that was disappointing. I mean, Ericsson again finishing down in 19th, just another disastrous day really for him. I mean, he still
Ericsson day finishing down in 18th.
Yeah, madness. It's come to that in the space of 2 years. But I mean, he's down in 20th in points, and I mean, it looks like he'll probably stay there. I mean, he's 31 points behind Kiffin Simpson in 18th, and he is 18 behind Connor Daly, who you would back to beat him at Nashville. So, yeah, not great.
Yeah, difficult season.
Just worth adding on Herta as well. There are rumours swirling about a move to F2. I mean, I don't think we need to talk much about that.
We'll touch it when it happens. Read more tweets.
Concrete. Read Dan's tweets. The super license system is a load of nonsense, and if Herta has to go to F2, then I don't know what to say, because that would be absolutely ludicrous.
So Kirkwood's 12th, as we said. Daly was 13th, and I don't know how he ended up there, because he was running this was probably his weakest over race this season, but it was still top 10 comfortably all day. I mean, he was top 5 for sections of it.
Yeah, he had a mega start. Like he made up 4 positions on that lap one to go.
He always does at the start. He's fantastic on oval starts, isn't he? But yeah, I don't know how he ended up in 13th. That was a bit of a shame.
I don't think he was one of the ones who stopped, was he? So maybe he got eaten up by the new tyre people. Like he also basically lost all the progress he'd made in the first pit cycle. He must have had a bad stop because I don't think he even stopped particularly late and got done by the absolutely wholly undercut. So yeah, don't know what happened there. Probably will be pretty disappointed with that.
Yeah, and talking disappointing, Santino Ferrucci qualified 21st, and he only moved up a few places because of engine penalties. He qualified very poorly. He only finished 14th. I mean, Palou lapped him before he unlapped himself a couple of times. Like, we speak about Ferrucci being one of the favourites to get his first win soon, but like I feel like he had that really superb mid-season stretch, and since then, he's actually been really disappointing. I mean,
well, either side of it.
Yeah. I mean, his season's sort of been defined by about 4 races, and he's down to 15 in points. And Newgarden's got a great chance of overtaking him in Nashville. And you look at Malukas in 11th, and how many points are they apart? They're about 40 points apart. And I know Ferrucci lost 25 at Detroit, so it's only 15 if you look at it like that. But I think on ovals we kind of expected more from Ferrucci, and this was he wasn't quick at all. Like I'm a bit underwhelmed actually by Ferrucci's run of form, and you just said at the start of the season, and he's ending the season pretty poorly as well. Actually,
yeah, he's not backed up last season at all. I mean, he was in the top 10 11 times last season, which was incredible. It was the first time the team had a top 10 in the championship in 22 years, which was such an impressive season. But he's just not come close to replicating.
He has got the same amount of top 10s as Malukas at just 5. So, I mean, it feels like the team have made maybe a slight drop-off in comparison to last year. But, I mean, as to Penske. So,
yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, that's interesting points, actually. But it's just been messy from Ferrucci. Really, really scruffy. It's kind of been what maybe we were more used to from him before last year, obviously, having this wildly consistent season. Qualifying's particularly been at times atrocious, really, given what he should be doing, and compared to what Malukas is doing. I mean, he's not been even close to being in the same ballpark. And I mean, this weekend, I mean, it's worth mentioning a bizarre incident in practice where he was exiting the pits in the low line session, exiting his box, and basically just walloped Devlin DeFrancesco's car. Dev wasn't even in that session. His car was stationary with no driver in it. And both cars ended up with damage. Ferrucci had to miss the rest of that session. DeFrancesco missed he missed his entire group in low line practice. Basically, the right rear corner of DeFrancesco's car had to be replaced, and he only came out with like 20 odd minutes to go in final practice, which was pretty poor. And Ferrucci was given a 20-minute hold penalty at the end of final practice. But to be honest, I think he should have just been parked until DeFrancesco was able to come back out again, because I don't know, like it was a big mess up, and I think it just continues what has been a real scruffy end to the season. And yeah, we didn't really see the fireworks from him in the race either. And the only thing we saw from him is he did a bloody good job to avoid Siegel's crash on the first lap, and that was the last we really saw of Ferrucci, apart from getting lapped, which we're not used to seeing from him.
So we had VK in 15th ahead of DeFrancesco 16th. We had Foster 17th and Schwartzman 18th.
Rookie of the year battle. Foster now leads that by 8.
3, I believe. On at 8, you're right. I don't know why I said 3.
Yeah, leads that by 8 points. So still pretty tight.
Then we had Ericsson, Simpson, Abel, Rosenqvist, Rob, Rahal, who once again on an oval was just a moving chicane. Like, I don't understand. Like, you saw his onboard briefly when he made contact power, and he was so slow.
I don't know what to say. Like, because they were genuinely pretty good in practice and qualifying, RLL tested, and here you've got Rahal qualifying 11th, bumped up to 10th, and you're thinking like, okay, they've found something here. Like, it was this race last year where Pietro Fittipaldi, I'm pretty sure it was this race last year where Pietro Fittipaldi was qualifying slower than Louis Foster's pole time in Indy Next. So it was a major upturn for the team. And like, you even had Di Francesco qualifying inside the top 15, or at least starting inside the top 15. I don't know where he was pre-penalties, but very promising turn. Foster was a little bit worse off, but I mean, even he, to be honest, did a stellar job not to be last because he had an engine failure in first practice and didn't have any laps before qualifying. But yeah, Rahal then has this weird little half spin, which he saved really well early in the race. And from there, he is nowhere. And he ends 3 laps down again. And a weekend rate looked like they'd turned the corner. So don't know what's going on. He was getting absolutely eaten alive on starts and restarts. And yeah, all that hard work in qualifying and single lap pace being promising has just been like completely thrown out the window because that was, yeah, I don't really know how to put it into words. Demoralizing, I think, for them probably.
Then we got Callum Ilott, who had to pull in with an engine fire effectively, which is quite dramatic. And then we end off with Power and Siegel. Unsung hero of the weekend. I feel like this is quite difficult this week, actually, because Rasmussen and Rossi are the real heroes, but they're not very unsung this week. This is actually not that easy.
I'll go for Lundgaard.
No, I was going to do that. McLaughlin, actually, his third run to third was quite unsung. He had a good weekend. So it's fair to say a podium finisher, but had a quite
No, I mean, as I said, I like, to be honest, forgot about the results from second down, ignoring fourth place, which obviously was Rossi. Like, it all kind of got caught up in the madness.
Top 3 drivers, I think Palou is an easy one for me.
Yeah, Palou is definitely my number one, and I'll probably put Rasmussen second, just for the nature of that late race drive. I think was just so impressive.
Yeah, and I'll probably go McLaughlin third.
I'm gonna go for Lucas third.
Okay, yeah.
I feel bad that he didn't get anything out of it when he really should have.
And then funny moments. I think there were a few. It's quite an amusing weekend. It's one of the end of season amusement. Gray and Rahal going to the toilet mid-practice session, I think, was one of my favourites.
Yeah, I this isn't my funny moment, but I just want to give a shout out to that broadcast of final practice on the kind of Saturday night television over in the UK. Because it was very late, but it was just great vibes. It was good fun. It was about as good a dose of Saturday night TV as you'll find over in the UK. It was brilliant. I really enjoyed it. Do you have what's your crowning funny moment though? I do have one.
What's your go for yours?
So have you watched the Fox like track guide thing? So they have a driver driving around in a pace car.
Yes, that's right. I forgot
This was like head and shoulders the best one they've done. I don't know if you've watched it from start to finish. I want to rewatch it, to be honest. Marcus Armstrong, as much as we credit him for the Armstrong ability and his composed and calm driving, he's a nutter. He's an absolute maniac. That video was hilarious. Like, so if anyone's not watched, they basically go in the pace car and drive. Usually Will Buxton, and if it's the Honda, then they've got 2 others. So Townsend wasn't there this one actually. It was Jack Harvey and James Hinchcliffe in the back. Armstrong was just like an absolute lunatic in this video. He was weaving across the track constantly. He was just like pushing just pushing like hell. Buxton was just screaming, "No!" And like even Hinch and Mr. Hollywood in the back would look terrified. And when the drivers are terrified, that's saying something. The funniest part was Marcus was like doing all this crazy weaving at like full throttle. And he was saying, "I'm getting a load of alarms on the dash here," which is just hilarious. And just to top it all off, he was going on about something about practice starts, trying to do a really nonchalant practice start while not looking, and he stalled it. It was just it was great content. Go and watch it. It was so good.
I actually didn't watch the Commander time, so I don't know how good it was this week. So you might have to tell me.
It was a snap-on guy. It was solid. I give it a 7 out of 10. Wasn't anything special, but it was just good, solid command.
Sounds like a 5 then, if it's nothing special.
I think it was firm. He was authoritative in his enunciation.
We'll leave that there. We'll go on to our podium predictor tournament and our Fast 6 predictor tournament ahead of the finale in Nashville. So we will have the points slotted up excitingly this week. So you'll know the situation ahead of the final round. So we'll move on to the podium predictor tournament. We'll be back with you for the results momentarily. We'll go on to the podium predictor tournament first of all. So me and Archie were very similar. I went for McLaughlin, Newgarden, Award. You went for Newgarden, Award, McLaughlin. So I only got 1 point, and you got 3 points for getting McLaughlin bang on. So just getting the right order really matters. The next level score was Tom Gamer, who got 2 points with Award, Newgarden, and Palou. So we got 2 points of being one off of Palou. Then we had a 3 for the fans with McLaughlin, Power, and Palou. So that was 2 of the 3 podium correct. So that was a pretty good run out there. Then we've got Morgan got 4 with Award, and then Palou being... Oh, no. Yeah, no, Palou being bang on at second. And in a fantastic shot of Rasmussen in third. I mean, it doesn't really... Well, you just get 1 point for it, but it deserves more, really, than that. Another good run out for Ivan, who got Palou in first, so 1 position off. Newgarden second and McLaughlin third. That's a good haul of 5. But I think the best ever prediction in podium predict tournament history, this might beat your 9, to be honest.
Yeah, fair enough.
Is James Scott, our good friend. I promise you, we aren't making this up. Predicted Rasmussen first, followed by Power and Palou. Like, I promise you, James did not make this up. He sent us this prediction on probably Friday that Rasmussen would win because he said it in the predictions episode pre-season. I think we'll play it. We'll play a clip of it in now because James put it on Twitter. And he was like, I need to back up my pre-season Rasmussen prediction, otherwise I look like a bit of a fool. And he did. And he got it right.
It's going to be Christian Rasmussen to win a race and, yes, outscore Alexander Rossi. That could really age like that Indy 500 milk in the sunshine, but we shall see.
You said that I predicted something similar, and I was like, no, I've got to go. I can't predict Rasmussen to win this. I need to go safe and protect my tournament. But I don't actually know what I said. Did I predict something like ECR and Foyt will both win a race?
I think you did. I can't remember if you said the drivers or not. I think I pushed you to select the drivers, but I can't remember.
Probably would have gone Rossi, I would imagine. Well, we'll figure out. We'll look back at our predictions in our post-season review. So stay tuned.
Well done, James.
Yeah, congrats.
That is absolutely unbelievable. That is like one of the best predictions this podcast has ever seen, I think. So
might be the best, to be honest.
It's up there. So the love of the game really all adds up to this. The love of the game.
Listen, fair play.
Well done, James. We'll see. We'll find out shortly if you're in contention still for Nashville. Unfortunately, no extra points, but congratulations. Okay, right. I have the scores going into the penultimate round. So there are 4 people who can still mathematically win the championship, which is fantastic. So 4 out of the 7 can still win the title. Now, the people, unfortunately, who are eliminated from Podium Predictor Tournament 2025 are Ivan with 30. So that's a bit of a rough one. And the fans, you're on 32. So you can't win the championship. The other person who can't win is Tom Gaymore, who is on 34. So you're all eliminated. But it's a close battle for your positions, and you can't. All those people can still move up a little bit further. Now, the people who can still win the championship, James's excellent guess is put him just about in contention still. It's like a McLaughlin last year. He needs to score maximum points in Nashville and the championship leader to score 0, and he'll win the title and count back. So it is like McLaughlin Nashville last year, where he sort of is in the picture, but he isn't really. So it's possible, but it would take a miracle for James to win the title. But it's still possible. The next contender, 2 points ahead of James, so 7 points off the lead, is Morgan on 37. So needs... I think the highest score this season anybody has got is 6. So we need 7. So we need the highest score all season still, believe it or not. And we need to guess one person bang on and 2 1 position off to win the championship. So that is still very difficult.
And that's relying on us not scoring anything.
And that's relying on the top 2, which are if you've now worked out myself and Archie not getting
And it's
any
not
points.
rigged, by the way.
This isn't rigged. We've done this every week. You can do the same maths that we do. It's ended up with us two being the championship contenders. So this leaves us two in the top two positions like it was last year. So last year I had the advantage going to Nashville, I believe, and you didn't. This is so fun, isn't it? Way tenser than the IndyCar Championship. So the gap between myself and you is 4 points.
I'm leading, right?
You are leading. Now, on the other element is, would you win on countback if we draw? Because that could be an interesting element as well. So you have got a total of 3 6-point results this season. So actually, you would win on countback as well. So to win the championship in Nashville, I need to outscore you by 5.
No IndyCar Championship on the line. But I'm really, really gassed about this. Come on.
So this is going to be tense. This is going to be really tense, to see who wins the championship. It feels like your margin is big. It's going to take a very good result from me, and hopefully a bad result from you. And it's going to be a case of we're probably going to be thinking quite similar. So I'm going to have to go a bit braver, I think. But we'll see how that pans out. The Fast 6 Predict tournament, we said for like 8 weeks, we'll eventually add up the scores. We actually have this week. So I formatted them all to Excel. I don't know what the scores are. I formatted the points each weekend, but I don't know what the score is. So Milwaukee, we both went for the Penske's Award and Malukas. You went for Palou, and I went for Rosenquist, who crashed. So you ended up getting 5 out of 6 because Newgarden missed out. Instead of
it's the first bang on.
And I still got the closest bang on of all time. In Gateway it was. Palou ruined it on his last run. If he finished in top 6, I would have had it. So I got 4 because I missed out on both Newgarden and Palou. So we haven't seen this, so I'm going to do the maths in Excel now. I am currently on 49 points over 60 rounds. Your total score is 46.
Oh, really? Oh, wow. Okay.
So, again, quite a similar predicament to the Podium Predictor tournament is that you're within range, but you need a strong result. On countback, we both have won 5 points, so that invalidates each other out. 4 points. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, including 4 of the last 5. So you'd actually have to beat me by 4 because I would on countback. So
Jeez.
It gives you something to think about, really. Because
I feel like Nashville's a massive unknown as well.
Because I feel like you probably could work out who I'm going to go for.
Mind games.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, that's an interesting one. So
we're not doing on the episode, guys.
Yes, we'll go over that in a minute. But we have very similar predicaments for either tournament, where one of us has got a significant advantage, but the other one isn't impossible, but they need to rely on them having a great result and your opponent not having a good result. It is quite fun.
Did you sweep last year?
Yes. So, I'm excited. 10th finale. And we're going to do the same thing we did last year, at least for the Fast 6. And you know what? As me and you are the main 2 contention, let's do it for the podium as well.
Good shout.
Let's make this a mystery to each other. So usually we do it the week before, but we're not going to do that this week. We're going to submit a Google form, and we won't know each other's results until Nashville, which will make it very exciting.
Yes.
But I think that is it from Milwaukee. What a nice weekend. What a feel-good result. Fantastic to see a first-time winner in such exhilarating fashion. Well done, Christian Rasmussen. That was awesome. And in a year we've had a lot of predictability and a lot of the same guy winning. To have a first-time winner, a true underdog, pull that result of the hat is awesome. Well
I'm
done.
just really sad that this is our final race review where we actually have a race to look ahead to.
Yeah.
That isn't in 6 months' time.
Yeah, it is. And 1 week to go until the season finale in Nashville. And we will be done. That will be our last review of the year. We will carry on during off season and we will attempt, as we have done every other year, to bring out an episode weekly. But we'll give some more general reflections on the season post Nashville. We'll have a season review, but we'll do some general thoughts. So next week's episode might be a little bit longer. So stay tuned for that. But yeah, it's a bit sad now. It's like you really are getting this end of season blues.
I mean, I know this season is what, 2 weeks shorter than last year. It just feels like no time since we were like in the midst of last off season. Really, it's pretty like it's genuinely madness how fast it feels like it's gone. Like the seasons usually fly by because it's so condensed, but this one's been extra like that. Like
sorry, last year the season was actually a week longer because St. Petersburg started a week later.
Okay,
so I mean, but even so, it finished in mid-September. Now we're in August.
Yeah,
it's weird. It feels weird. Feels really weird, but yeah, it kind of feels sad because we love giving all you guys content every week. We really enjoy it.
But stick around in the off season because we will still be giving you your weekly.
And what I was gonna say is, if you do have anything that you want to see us do in the off season, drop us a message and we will try and accommodate it the best we can. We got 6 months of content to cover, so if you've got any ideas, give us a shout and we'd be more than happy to try and see what we can do. But I think for this week, thanks very much for watching. Thanks very much for listening. We have one to go for 2025, and we'll see you next time.